So I'm going to take you through the SolarEdge safety, the additional features, including cybersecurity. And one thing I want to plant a seed in your head is that first of all, is that PV systems, they last a long time. We're not talking of 10, 15 years. Your PV system is generally going to outlast your roof. So it's a good chance your roof will need to be changed before your PV system will change. Now, in that time, over 25 years, technology changes, and I'm sure you can go back 25 years from today. Remember what electronic equipment we had, communication devices. I remember the analog phones before we went to digital. So lots of things have changed in that time, and your system from the day you install it still has to be up to date and current. And what we're finding is subsystems aren't, and I'll explain that to you later on. So let's go. So one of the first things that we found is in 2016, pretty much the industry got together and said, look, we're having a few problems. We need to find out what the problems are and we need to resolve them. And we came out with a report, and it was a BRE report. And the report basically said people are using the wrong products for the wrong purpose. They're not trained in them. They're not designing them correctly, and they're not maintaining anything. This is what we discovered in 2016. In 2017, we published the report. Well, pleased to say that 10 years on, nothing's really changed. It's still just as difficult. We still have lots of people coming in to the industry without the proper training, using the wrong products. Maintenance hasn't been as widespread as what we like. So there is a new BRE report. It's called the PV Fire Intelligence Network, and we're looking into it again to see if we can identify if the causes are the same, the root causes are the same, and what we can do to remove the issues. Well, the problem is the main issue is the human element. It's the person who does the design. It's the person that orders the material. It's the person that installs it. It's the person that connects it, the person that commissions it. These are the people that pretty much, no matter what you could do, there's no real control over these people. You may well find a reputable solar PV installer and very pleased with everything. They've got all the certificates, all the stuff that they need, and they then get your contract. They then install your product, and you'll find that they really haven't installed it. They have a subcontractor, and they then give this to the subcontractor. Subcontractors then in charge of the supervision, and then we find that maybe that subcontractor then has another subcontractor, and he doesn't really have much supervision, because now he's there's no real profit in the job unless he installs very quickly, very rapidly. And this is basically what seems to be happening, is everybody is being passed down the tree as such with doing the work, and when it comes to the crunch, people it's not going well, unfortunately. And this is the human element. So if you want to, if you know of any issues where you've had some problems with solar PV, I don't mean SolarEdge, I mean in the industry as a whole. If you've had any issues, or you know of any issues, or you've seen anything, please scan this QR code and help by filling out the questionnaire, and that will go towards gaining all the information for us to come out again with a report with exactly what we can do about it. Now, in the meantime, things are still happening, such as this. Now, this, as you can see on your screen, is basically issues with installation. So this is just going to put my laser pointer on. You can see you've got a slight cut here on the insulation, and you can actually see the copper inside. So you can see the black level, you can see the white bit, and then you can see the metal inside. So that's the copper. So that's an exposed live part there. This bit here is another cut, a nick. These were all taken from our field engineers when they go to site. This one here, again, you can see the copper exposed where it's been gnawed. And basically these cables haven't been supported, or haven't been guided or installed in such a way. Now, the good news is, because these are SolarEdge installations, what this means is that we've been able to find these, and the system was turned off. So we've discovered that there was a trap cable here, and the system's turned off. We discovered that the communication hasn't been constant because of the cables have been damaged and cut, and the system's turned off. And exactly the same as what you can see on here. Trap cable here for a number of years. You can see the buildup of dirt here. So it's been a number of years. And over that time, the cable has just worn away, crushed until the exposed live part there has come into contact with the roof here. And what that does is, in turn, is that causes the roof to be live. Now, fortunately, because it was a SolarEdge system, again, it turned off. And I'll explain to you why it turned off and how it turned off in the next few slides. So this is a SolarEdge inverter underneath of one of our inverters, and you can see that the ends have been pulled out. So basically what's happened is that there doesn't seem to be any physical squashing or termination on these cables here. You can see on here there is on this one. What should happen is that cable should be roughly about 4 millimeters. The end of the MC4, the connected part, should be then crimped onto here, and then it should be pushed in, and then it makes contact. And they would have been in contact with the inverter. And what's happened is, well, they haven't been connected correctly, and because of SolarEdge, the signal didn't get through, which I'll explain later on, and they turned off. Now, had it been a normal system, well, it still would have been working, arcing, getting hotter. And if they did discover that these parts weren't in fact installed correctly, then this would be permanently live. And this will be permanent live. But fortunately, with SolarEdge, what happens is once you safe DC, which is the default safety, comes into play, what you'll find is that this here is now 1 volt between these two. Okay, and depending on how many optimizers you can have a maximum of 25 volts. So between this point and that point, you could have 25 volts DC with roughly 300 to 600 milliamps. And the 25 volt DC is well below the 125 for safe DC. So there is a limit for DC voltage, which is 125. And this is well below it. Now, this one here was pushed into the connecting housing here, the contact housing, but as you can see on here, the nut here, the nut wasn't done up. So as they were being pushed together, as this was being pushed in, the physical force that requires it to be pushed in wasn't there, wasn't securing it. So basically it's pulled out, and again, no contact. And this one here, you may remember we said it should be about 4 mil, which is roughly cut off about here. Okay, what's basically happened is they've crimped it with whatever implement they could find, teeth, pair of pliers, or anything, but not a correct crimping tool. This is too long, and again, this is pulled off. And all along, these will be systems that won't work. And naturally, you're going to point the finger at the manufacturer and say, your products aren't very good because now my system's not working. But what people fail to realize is the reason they're not working is because the safe DC has come into place because these systems are unsafe. You've also got the issue with installations where the moisture gets in, and you can see how it's corroded in here. And that causes two things, two issues. One is corrosion. The second one is it's a buildup of resistance. It then causes an arc. And you can see on the slate here, the amount of water that was actually held in the connector that was tapped out. Now, once you join two connectors together, two of these MC4 connectors together, the moisture and water will stay in there for the length of the installation, so 25 years plus. It can't evaporate because it's actually enclosed in a IP rated connection. So it's very important, no moisture. This isn't just for SolarEdge, this is for all systems, all PV systems. And then you've got the SolarEdge Power Optimizer. You can see on here, installed incredibly well, secured, nice area underneath for the circulation of air. MC4s are supported along the track here. So yes, you can install it correctly and you can install it very easily. So why SolarEdge? So they're the reasons that I've shown you as to what's happening in the industry where people are installing them, all the best intentions to install them correctly. Unfortunately, cables get trapped. Unfortunately, cables get gnawed at, and you can make You can put your bird mesh up and things like that to protect the modules. You can enclose the cables, but you can't make sure that everybody terminates the MC4s correctly. And this is the issue. Okay, so we know that you can't turn the sun off. You have to wait for nighttime, and you'll notice it's been very sunny recently, and there's been lots of electricity being made. So you can't turn the sun off. Um, what you have to do is you have to have a way of isolating that panel. So you either cover that panel up, you wait for darkness, or you install SolarEdge. You install the power optimizer to each module. We know about safe DC, how we turn stuff off, how it goes to 1 volt. So let's have a look at the other things on here. So we've got safe DC here. We've got module level monitoring. Pictures I showed you of the my panels doing different values. That is the module level monitoring. You can see that. We're going to look at Sense Connect. We're going to look at the Artful Circuit Interruption. And this is the American standard. This is the highest standard in the globe for batteries at the moment. And this is going to be adopted by the MCS. So the MCS are writing the battery specification for the future home standards, and the future home standards will mention these particular regulations, which SolarEdge have easily. Now, not just me saying these things have also been approved by TNO, which is the Dutch testing authority, and by VDE as well. Now, if you didn't have the safe DC or artful circuit interruption that SolarEdge give you, there will still be enough of an arc to cause a fire here. And you can see what's happening here. You can see that the arc is burning here. It's burning through the material, the plastic material, which is set alight, which is burning. And that is now the fuel for the fire. And that will keep going until all the fuel's been exhausted. And the insulation on the cables as well. And what you'll be left with is loads of bare cables, which are still live. Remember, they're still live. Fortunately, with SolarEdge, that's not the case. While I'm talking, I want you to look at this particular video down the bottom here, and you'll see in this particular video where it starts, it pulls the cable apart. This is what causes the fire. So it's the actual motion. So this bit here pulls away. So while I'm talking, I want you to have a look at that, and I will carry on, and I'll explain how that is relevant. So SolarEdge can detect a buildup of heat. It can detect whether the optimizer itself is too hot, and I'll show you a picture of that later on. It can detect whether the connection is getting hot, whether the connector is actually making a contact or not. It does another thing in the morning, which is the polarity check to make sure that everything is how it should be. It does a continuity check to make sure that all the optimizers are connected together. That allows it to then send the signals for the heartbeats to stay on and so on. If it doesn't have this continuity check, if it can't get a path from the plus to the minus, it won't start. Okay, so with this particular video that you're seeing in the corner, you'll see it's pulling apart. So as soon as you pull apart a SolarEdge connector on the inverter, or you disconnected the power optimizer, the heartbeat basically wouldn't be able to get from one optimizer to the other, and it would stop. As soon as that heartbeat stops, okay, which is every 40 milliseconds, as soon as that heartbeat stops, the system goes to 1 volt, which is the picture above. So this, you wouldn't see this happening with SolarEdge, because as soon as you pull it away, it would stop. There'll be no arcing, there'll be no passing of current, there'll be no electricity. Now, this is going on with traditional systems. This is going on with, there's other devices that you can use to enclose this. Okay, but this is still happening, and this is quite a ferocious, as you can see. This is the burning of the material made up of the multi-range contacts. It's the cable itself, and you can see it venting, you can see it spitting things out. So this doesn't happen with SolarEdge, because as soon as the cables are pulled apart, as soon as there's an arc it's detected, as soon as a buildup of heat is detected, it turns off. You don't get this, okay? You don't see this. So we then go to safe DC, we shut down, and then we've also got rapid shutdown, which can do it within 30 seconds. And we have this artful circuit interruption. I've not spoken about this, but basically imagine that you're driving in your car. If something was to jump out in front of you in your car, you would do several things. You would slow down. You'd put your foot on the brakes. You would, if you're in a manual car, you put it into neutral, you put your handbrake on, you would stop. And that's what SolarEdge does. It discovers an arc, whether it's a series or parallel arc, and it slows down and stops. Now, we don't rely on the fact that I'm wearing a seatbelt, that if I hit something, I'll be okay. We don't rely on the fact that I've got a bumper or I've got an airbag, I'm okay. It's about slowing down and stopping. It's not about, well, if we hit something, we're going to be safe and protected. It's a fact of, let's not even hit something. Let's just slow down before we hit something. Let's stop before we hit something. And that is the difference between SolarEdge and everybody else. Now, there is a new standard coming out, a new ARC fault standard, which is here, okay, came out in 23, and we have full compliance. Why do we have full compliance and other people not have full compliance? Full compliance because guess what? I showed you before, we can open up the module circuit, we can make it not produce electricity. So that means we can turn off the panel, we can turn off the module using our heartbeat safe DC. We can turn that off. Nobody else can turn it off. That's why we have full compliance, and other people will have partial compliance because they can just turn off the inverter. They can't turn off the array. They can't turn off the cables to the panels. They can't turn off the panels. Now, again, it's not just me saying this. It is also the IET Code of Practice. They make the rules for solar PV. And you can see on here that it says for series arcs and parallel arcs. Series arcs are basically two things touching. Parallels are your cable touching the array, the panel, or the roof. And basically it says here, DC power optimizers, which are protected potential reduction power optimizers, have the ability to reduce the voltage and current in a string to a safe level. Guess what? This is technological waffle because they wouldn't allow me to put SolarEdge power optimizer in. However, they did allow me to spell optimizers with a Z. Now, why with a Z? Well, because that's how you spell optimizer in America. And we're an American company. And that's basically how we spell optimizer. So you can see on here a DC optimizer that reduces the voltage to a safe level, for example, 1 volt. That's what I've shown you earlier. This is a SolarEdge power optimizer. Okay, I helped write this book, so I know it's a fact that this is the SolarEdge power optimizer. So the SolarEdge power optimizer is the only one that will stop a series arc or a parallel arc. Okay. It's also written down there when you select the inverters, and it's also down there when you're talking about power optimizers as well. So these are facts. And again, there is another definition of it as well, what a DC power optimizer is, just in case you weren't sure. So we spoke about how it's going to do it. Let's look at the smart bit of it. So we've got on here, on this particular cable here, a temperature sensor. We've got a temperature sensor in the optimizer here, and I'll show you that later on. We've got that. And then we've got this here. Now I'm going to have to be super quick because I haven't got long left. I realize I've been waffling. I get too carried away and talk. So this, if it gets too hot, that will turn off. Safe DC will come in, okay? We detect, we react, we notify, okay? And it basically shuts down with the detection. Automatic shutdown lets you know where the problem is and helps you identify the problem. And here you can see on here, we've got temperature sensor of, again, my site. And then you can see on here how hot it was the other day. So they do get super hot. Panels get super hot. Cables get super hot. This is under the panel, 72 degrees under my panel. Not the hottest day, but one of the hotter days. It's important. SolarEdge, guess what happened on this super hot day? My system shut down because it got too warm, because it was nearly 80 degrees. Okay, these panels jumped up to nearly 80 degrees and turned off. No other system would do that. All the other systems will carry on getting hotter and hotter and hotter and causing problems. So last one on this bit here before we go to cybersecurity, and I will do cybersecurity very quickly. It's important, but I will do it quickly. Basically, York Minster burnt down in 1986. They said, I'm not putting solar on there unless it's super safe. Guess who they chose? SolarEdge. And there is actually a full thing about it here. Okay. So SolarEdge were chosen for the safety, for the added generation. You can see they made £20,000 in savings already. So cybersecurity, it's a biggie. Cyber security attacks are on the up. They're never going to go away. It's easy money for people. You basically are responsible for your cybersecurity. For if you instruct an installer to buy a product and put that product and connect it to your internet, well, you're responsible for that, and it's going to cause problems unless that system has up-to-date cybersecurity. As I said, your system's going to last for 25 years. Well, guess what? SolarEdge will make sure that all the cybersecurity is up to date. You can see on here that this particular report we've had to blank out. They have found 50 flaws in 3 traditional inverter manufacturers. Okay, not SolarEdge, 3 traditional manufacturers, because they installed something in 2000 and let's say 2006, and in 5 years' time, it's still the same product that's sending all the data, but there's no cybersecurity advancement on that product. It's not been upgraded, it's not improved, and there's no monitoring of it. We also had this one here where platforms, so basically data loggers that are sending data, monitoring inverters, very easily have been able to break into them and turn them off. It's a big problem, especially nuisance issues, ransomware issues, where we'll turn your stuff off, and unless you give us some money, we won't turn your product back on. And then products that aren't up to date. So we've got this product here that costs £500 to install an EV charger, and there were 40,000 of them had to be replaced because it didn't comply with the smart cybersecurity laws. So it's a big problem. Okay, cybersecurity is a big problem. If you choose the wrong product, you will get stung for it. Basically, someone is going to turn around and say, you need to do this to comply with cybersecurity. You'll go to your manufacturer and say, oh, can you do this? Oh, no, sorry, we can't do that, but we can give you a new product that you can buy from us that will. So be very careful. SolarEdge will do this. Jaguar and Land Rover, they got hit quite unfairly, and they had to shut down. And it's not just them that lost, it's the people that were buying their spare parts. It's the people waiting for products. Same thing with Marks and Spencers. Marks and Spencers were attacked, and the person from Marks and Spencers phoned up Marks and Spencers, asked them to reset a password. So there is a human element again that causes these problems. Okay. But mainly what you're hearing on the news, I think pretty much common, that because we didn't accept the 5G system from one of the Chinese manufacturers in the UK. We also had a few problems with in Europe, where the Chinese manufacturers are no longer able to get grant funding for utility sites. It's becoming a problem. And why Chinese manufacturers? It does seem a bit unfair pointing at them. The reason I'll come to in a couple of slides. Lithuania have blocked Chinese inverters for cybersecurity. So anything over 100 kilowatts, which is quite small for commercial, really, is going to cause a problem. You can't connect it. Why have something you can't connect? It doesn't make sense, does it? And then Czech Republic, they've also said that we're not going to connect any Chinese products. So this is going through Europe. This is going through Europe quite rapidly. The UK are doing stuff as well behind the scenes, and it's not going to be long before you get basically a notice from the government about this. How things can be turned off. So cyber attacks. Basically, Russia turned off all the Ukraine's power grids before they attacked the Crimea. Venezuela have been attacked by cybersecurity. People wanted money from them. China said to India, if you push back too hard, we will turn off your transformers, your grid, and things like that. And then Australia was attacked with ransomware as well. And finally, MI5 is investigating the use of Chinese green technology in the UK. And it says on here, the green revolution will come with a made in China label. He said, and this is the Kerry McCarthy, he said, Chinese controlled technology embedded in our critical energy infrastructure is evidently a threat to our security. But why? And this is the reason why. It's the very bottom one here. It says, are you subject to national legislation, e.g. China's national intelligence law? If you are a company that is owned by Chinese owners, let's say, or you make something in the UK and it's Chinese owners or anything like that, they are all subject to this Chinese national intelligence law, which means that they have to share the data. Not just share data, but they can also access your inverters. So there are inverters out there that people, so SolarEdge themselves access our inverters, but we do it in a very safe and sensible way. But they will be open to third parties accessing equipment. There's a particular manufacturer that went insolvent not so long ago, and they turned off all of their communication because of it. And then 3 people set up a new company, and they are now doing the communication. you've got to look at how easy it is for those 3 people to do that, because surely there should be some huge cybersecurity rules there stopping another company from controlling another company's products. So it's a bit of a question there, really. So what are you going to do? Ensure you've got a defensive wall. Ensure that you've got everything is up to date. You've got passwords. You've got procedures. You're using normal logins through SolarEdge. You're not using going through third-party logins or three different companies to get to the product you want to do. Everything that SolarEdge makes, SolarEdge have access to and control using the monitoring. So visibility control, network safeguards, data protection, where your servers are based. Our servers are based in Europe. They are under the toughest GDPR rules. We've also got the ISO rules on there as well. I often fill out cybersecurity questionnaires. Are very lengthy. The most exciting aspect of my job, but I've found a way to do it. These things are popping up again and again. Is your product manufactured in China? Is your product owned by Chinese? Is your product servers are? Where are your servers? Where is this? Where is that? It's all the same questions, and they're all pointing to one thing. So these are the standards we got today. UK PSTI, that's the one for us. We've then got the EU Cyber Resilience Act, which is going to come in. That's going to be a biggie, a shocker. And there's also a UK Cyber Resilience Act as well, which is being written. So that's coming in as well. VDE did our cybersecurity test. They probed us for over 6 months to make sure there were no weaknesses, and basically everything was fine. We do have a bounty system as well, where we can ask people to, or where people nicely try and break into our system. If they find anything, they are rewarded financially. So we do have a bounty system for that. Application notes, don't worry about those. That's it, question time. So I think Lucy's done all the questions, I hope. If
I've
there
only
isn't,
put them on the chat station.
okay,
So
that's fine.
I think one of them you answered. Why did you go for the SolarEdge solution rather than other options out there in terms of safety and containing or preventing arcs?
Okay, excellent. Okay, so yes, sorry I went over by 2 minutes, but we did start 2 minutes late, so I thought that perfect timing. So yeah, there you go. So if you've got any questions, type away, please, and we will answer them. Lucy, are you going to type in our email addresses in case anybody's got any further questions?
If I'm gonna just take over your share quickly, Jason.
Yes, please. Absolutely. Yeah.
Bear with me 2 seconds. So don't leave everyone just quite yet. I'm just going to give you our contact details. So just as we covered, look, at the end of the day, let me just put that on full screen. I should be able to see it. Let me know if you can't see it, Jason.
No, that's it. Perfect.
So just for reference, myself and my colleagues in the sales team, Jason, training on the technical side of things. We do want to partner with every person within the industry, so the distributor, the installer, and also the social housing councils, which we already do. We'd like to do it at a larger scale and right from the beginning. So if you need anything from us, whether that's training, we've got some projects coming up. You have some questions on cybersecurity. Hopefully, you've answered that question in your head. Why is it important in commercial and not in residential? There's no reason it should be important in both. So safety is there, it's important. Cybersecurity is important, but also having our contact details. So if you'd like to join our networking day and some training, or you just have some general questions about the system, then please do contact us. I've popped down, I don't think I have your email on here, Jason. I might have to put it on the chat. Apologies.
Okay, thank you.
Have it on there as well. But for your local SolarEdge sales team, you have myself, that's South Wales all the way over through the Midlands into the east. Jacob, so above the Birmingham corridor, so just above Birmingham and all the way up to Scotland. Please do reach out to Jacob. And Richard Fuel for the southwest. Regardless, we work here as a team. So if you've got any opportunities or you have any questions, please do give us an email. And then I don't know, Jason, you popped your email in the chat.
Yes,
if it is
just done
it probably will end up going to Jason anyway. So you probably will have a chat with him. But yeah, we look forward to working with everyone involved and building this community within social housing and councils.